emotional sensitivity. That is not a weakness, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. But like, summer is about of women regretting all the plans that they had made. Those more fun things constitute things that give you a little bit more worldly pleasure. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I'm super frustrated. Help you honestly gather more of that princess energy. And femininity, how to maximize your femininity in summer. That's what we're going to be talking about today. It is kind of like the sequel of the video that I had put out about a month or 2 months ago about how to maximize your femininity in spring. So a little side note and a tangent is, if you haven't watched that spring femininity video, I encourage that you do so, because it's going to help you understand the seasons and how to harness them for your femininity and that whole concept. We are cyclical beings as women based on like our menstrual cycle, and that's a good blueprint for how we are to live throughout the seasons as feminine women. Now, I understand that some of you live in places where it has felt like summer for a couple months now, but regardless of the heat index, it is more so harnessing your femininity with the flow of the seasons in terms of like sunset and sundown, for example, and just the concept of making sure that you are adding a variety into your life so that you don't burn yourself out as a feminine woman. The masculine hormonal cycle is more of a daily cycle, and so that's why they thrive in high repetition. But for us in our moods, especially because women are more prone to emotional sensitivity, that is not a weakness, by the way. That is just the way that we are, and understanding it helps us become more empathetic. But we, again, thrive on that variety so that we maximize our joie de vivre throughout our lives. So we can also achieve our goals without burning ourselves out through a masculine model of high repetition every single day. I'm not going to dive too deep into that because I have a lot of videos in my femininity playlist, which again, you know, like shameless plug, go check that out as well. But today I'm going to try to focus on summer. And about 4 years ago, I made a femininity in summer video. And although I find that that video still has like fun elements in it, it was more so superficial because, like I've mentioned constantly on this channel, femininity is a evolving journey. It is something that you improve on if you work at it throughout your life, because we do live in a society right now that trains the femininity out of you. So many of us have like 20 something years where we have been trained to suppress our natural femininity. And so that being said, it might take another 20 something years to get back to a natural state of femininity. If you are scoffing at this a little bit, if you are new to the channel and you don't understand why femininity would benefit you, this is another reason why I'm talking about the seasons, because it'll give you a better understanding about how, again, you can extract the most maximum joy to kind of mesh with your biology, with your moods as we go through the seasons. And if you are skeptical of femininity, consume more femininity content, implement little tweaks here and there, and you will find that although you are living counterculturally as a more feminine woman, you are more fulfilled and joyful. And once again, before I get into the crux of the video, I do want to thank you, my members, who really do support the channel at this point. Those of you who hit the like button on my videos, as well as those of you who leave comments down below. Everything that you do for my small channel with regards to all of this helps put out the message, and it is really appreciated by me because I am a full-time mother. So like getting on here and doing these videos, my kids are actually eating a bowl of ice cream right now, is something that I have to curate and plan throughout my days and like hope it works out. So when I do get a video out there, even though it isn't like super perfect, the support of my members as well as those of you who like and comment the videos makes it all worthwhile. Crux of the message that I want you to get today is that summer in femininity is about being. That's it. That's the video. See you next time. No, I'm just kidding. But like, summer is about being. There's this saying going around with regards to the menstrual cycle that is like, you are in the luteal phase, which is the phase before your period, and after your ovulatory phase, and summer would be the ovulatory phase, of women regretting all the plans that they had made and the commitment and like the new systems they had developed in the ovulatory phase because they were at peak energy, peak vitality, or maybe like they had signed up for like a bunch of dates on a dating profile and now they just want to rot in bed during the luteal phase because they have lower energy. It is the PMS phase. So in order to maximize the ovulatory phase, which is summer, it is to be mindful of the high energy level and to enjoy being, but not necessarily committing to plans that you would feel burnt out of by the end of summer when you get into fall. So that's another reason why in spring, I encourage you to start new systems, test things out, get the work done that you wanted to get done then, because although you had a little bit more energy in comparison to the luteal phase, in that phase, which by the way would be the follicular phase, which would be the phase right after your period, you aren't exactly yet at a peak energy level. You just have like that activation, sort of like motivational energy to start new things. And you have more of a positive, optimistic outlook compared to the phase before your menstrual cycle. But you are not making plans in a peak energy. And so for that reason, I encourage you not to make new systems, not to make new plans, not to do like huge overhauls of your life in summer, and to focus on being. Now, what do I mean by being? The first video that I had mentioned I made about summer in terms of femininity could be more of those superficial things that you could incorporate in the concept of being. So if you like feminine romantic style, picture like women in fields having picnics in flowy flowery dresses and like having a girls brunch outside in a garden, or like really decorating your outdoor space with a lot of florals, taking the time to go on long beach walks, having sunset cocktails with your husband, waking up early in the morning at 5 a.m. to catch that sunrise. Those more fun things constitute being. And there is, of course, the big element of nature. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I understand that many of you might live in a place where it reaches like 110 during the day. So what I do in order to maximize being, but I fuse it with the weather, living in somewhere where it's very hot during the summer, is I make my kids take a big nap in the middle of the day, and we get up very early to maximize that sunrise and that cooler time outside, and then we live our life a lot in the evenings. We like to cook outside, eat outside, have campfires. Before I had kids, if you look at like my older vlogs, I used to sit outside a lot in summer. That was something that I absolutely enjoyed. My husband and I love going on like long drives in the summer. Just again, that concept of like maximizing the weather. So it sounds a little bit vain, and on this channel I do talk a lot about traditional values in the sense of like being selfless, about getting the most out of life when you don't just live for yourself and you prioritize your family and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, this is about femininity here. What I'm trying to say is that in summer you can be a little bit more selfish in the sense of feeling in your body and maximizing things that give you a little bit more worldly pleasure. So I want you to wake up every single day and ask yourself, how can I maximize today to be the most pleasuresome? That might mean getting up a little bit earlier to take a slower morning, writing in your journal on the porch while you sip an iced coffee, embracing more carefree hairstyles that are just like loose and flowy so that you feel the wind in your hair. Sounds so cliche, but it is something very sensual and it helps you feel more feminine. Doing morning stretches outside on your balcony, little tweaks here and there. I know many of you work in the workforce that can help enhance your day and build your day around pleasure to maximize summer. If you have kids, loading them up with like Cheerios, or if you're more crunchy like an organic cereal in your stroller, going on a morning walk while you have your coffee and it's not, extreme heat. Again, that concept of extreme heat, but maximizing your mornings that way to reconnect with nature, to do something for yourself outside. When my kids were younger, this is something that I did all the time in the morning in terms of my walks. The feminine thrives again in nature. And of course, I mentioned this in spring, and that's still a big element of spring. But in summer, I want you to maximize and put it at the forefront of your mind on how you can harness nature to feel sensual and more pleasure. It does sound a little bit weird when I'm saying pleasure, but like the world has perverted that term, and I mean it in, the best way, not the perverted way. So a couple other things that I had written down in terms of ideas would be like swimming, of course, the things I had mentioned in my original video, like flowy dresses. I am not in a season where I can wear too many dresses because I just like, I'm not going to get into it right now, but I'm super frustrated with fashion out there right now that I can't find things that don't reveal my cleavage and my bottom when I go to the park and play with my kids. So for that reason, I have opted for other things that feel comfortable on my body, like athletic dresses and athletic skirts. That might be something that could help you if you are like me. But if you have a lifestyle that you don't have to be constantly bending over with small humans to take care of, I would really lean into those traditionally feminine dresses that are flowy, made of cotton, and just help you honestly gather more of that princess energy. And lastly, like walking barefoot outside. I know there's an element of hygiene. You want to make sure, if you live in a public building, you don't want to go in your courtyard with no shoes on because people smoke out there and stuff. I understand. I lived in the city for a little bit of time. But if you have the option to do like grounding, getting outside without shoes, it honestly does work. And I used to think it was just something for like very, very like woo-woo hippie people. But doing that every single day, I do that and I make my kids do that, has helped me a lot with feeling more in tune to my body. In honor of maximizing the season, I'm going to leave the video there. Once again, I appreciate your likes, your comments. Those of you who are members, it really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.